Story 1. The Shortcut Through the Darkness. Let's wind the clock back about 10 years, to a time when Halloween felt truly magical. And sometimes truly terrifying. I was a kid, maybe 12 or 13, and I was finally allowed to go trick-or-treating with my two best friends without any parents tagging along. Freedom. For their privacy, let's call them Alex and Ben. The excitement was palpable. No more adults cramping our style, just us and the night. My costume. A genuinely unsettling clown. My friend Ben went as a classic scarecrow, and Alex? Well, Alex threw on a white sheet with a pumpkin mask. We never did figure out what he was supposed to be. But he was committed. We hit the streets around 5 p.m., which was late for us, but our town allowed trick-or-treating until 9. For a couple of hours, it was perfect. Just the three of us, laughing, running from house to house, our bags getting heavier with every stop. But then, around 7:30, a strange feeling started to creep in. Across the street, we noticed two figures. They were bigger than us, maybe high school age, and they seemed to be keeping pace with us. We'd zigzag through the neighborhood, taking random turns, and they'd mirror our path. It was subtle. They'd go up to houses too, just like anyone else. But the pattern was undeniable. They were following us. This is where teenage bravado overruled common sense. Against my better judgment, I went along with Alex's plan, to cut through the woods that separated our neighborhood from the next one. It was a known trail, one we'd walked during the daytime. Never at night, but we figured it was our best chance to lose them. We slipped onto the path and hurried into the trees. The deeper we went, the darker it became. The canopy of leaves blocked out the moonlight, and soon we could barely see the path in front of us. This was before every kid had a cell phone, so we had no flashlights. We stumbled to a halt, a silent agreement passing between us that this was a bad idea. Should we turn back? That's when we heard it. A faint crunching sound behind us. Gravel and leaves being stepped on. We squinted into the darkness and could just make out the silhouettes of two men walking towards us. That was all it took. We didn't scream, we just bolted, scrambling into the trees in a blind panic. Ben, who was trailing behind, later swore he saw them break into a run right after us. In our terror, we completely lost the trail. We were deep in the woods, disoriented, and every time we stopped to catch our breath, we'd hear those footsteps again, closing in fast. We'd run again, hearts pounding. This wasn't a game anymore. They were hunting us. We must have been lost in that dark maze for over half an hour before we finally stumbled out onto a quiet street. We had no idea where we were, but we picked a direction and, by sheer luck, ended up in Ben's neighborhood. We practically dove through his front door, locked it, and spent the rest of the night peeking through the blinds, jumping at every shadow. Of course, being kids, we didn't tell a soul what happened. Alex got picked up later, and I slept over at Ben's house. But here's the thing that really gets me. Around 2 or 3 in the morning, we both woke up at the same time. We heard it clearly. The sound of footsteps, 2 sets of them, walking up the driveway. Ben's room was right at the front of the house. By the time we scrambled to the window, there was nothing there. Just an empty driveway. Was it our imaginations? Or had they found us again? I'm still not sure. Story 2. The Visitor at the Door. A few years later, I was an adult, living in my own house in a neighborhood that got swamped with trick-or-treaters. I'd be on candy duty from 3 to 7 p.m., a steady stream of kids in cute costumes. It was always the same: ring the doorbell, trick or treat, thank you, and off they go. But toward the end of the night, the doorbell rang, and I opened it to find a single girl standing on my porch. She was alone, but there was a man lingering on the sidewalk, who I assumed was her father. But something felt off. She was dressed as a bride, but a decayed, spectral version with a tattered white dress. Her entire face was painted a stark, matte white, with no expression. And the more I looked at her, the more I realized she didn't look like a kid. She seemed older, a teenager, or maybe even in her 20s, but the paint made it hard to tell. She didn't say a word, just held out a small, empty bag. I dropped some candy in, and the moment I did, she turned and walked quickly away. The man on the sidewalk fell into step beside her, and I could see them talking in low tones as they disappeared down the street. The whole interaction was bizarre, but I shrugged it off and closed the door. The rest of the night was uneventful. I cleaned up, watched some TV, and finally decided to call it a night around 1 a.m. I turned off all the lights and headed upstairs for a shower. About 15 minutes later, I got out, dried off, and glanced at my phone. A notification from my doorbell camera. It was from 10 minutes prior, right after I'd gotten in the shower. My stomach dropped. I opened the video. For a split second, in the very edge of the frame, I saw her. The girl in the white dress. She had stepped onto my porch, but then immediately recoiled, as if she'd just remembered the camera and was trying to stay out of its view. I threw on some clothes and ran downstairs, my heart hammering against my ribs. Peered out the window. The street was empty and silent. This wasn't a coincidence. And then I heard it, a noise from behind me. I spun around, staring down the long, dark hallway. Faint whispers. Two voices, having a quiet conversation somewhere in the back of my house. Pure instinct took over. I didn't think, I just reacted. I flung open my front door, sprinted into the night, and didn't stop running until I was several blocks away. Only then did I pull out my phone and call the police. As I was anxiously waiting, my phone buzzed again. Another doorbell notification. My blood ran cold. I watched the live feed as the girl and the man ran out of my front door and down the street. I gave the police everything, the videos, my description. They figured out the guys had picked the lock on my side garage door to get in. But they never found them. Other neighbors mentioned seeing the pair, but I was the only one they targeted. They were looking for someone they thought was vulnerable. I was just lucky I'd seen that notification. To this day, I have no idea who they were or what they wanted. And that's maybe the scariest part of all. Story 3. The man who knew my friend's name. Our final story takes me back to when I was 15. I thought I was too cool for trick-or-treating, so my friend Aiden and I were just hanging out at my house, bored out of our minds. My parents were away for a work party, so we had the entire place to ourselves. To salvage the night, we decided to do the most cliché thing possible. Watch a horror movie in my unfinished, creepy basement. It was the perfect setting. Concrete floors, storage boxes everywhere. Just a couch and a TV in the middle of a large, dark space. We were maybe 20 minutes into the movie when we heard a distinct thump from upstairs. We paused the film. Silence. I rewound the movie, thinking it was just the sound effects, but there was nothing. Came from the floor above us. I crept to the bottom of the basement stairs. Aiden right behind me. We listened, and we heard it again. Soft, deliberate thumps. The sound of someone walking around upstairs. We looked at each other, eyes wide with the same terrifying thought. Then a voice. A deep, unfamiliar male voice, echoing from the top of the stairs. It called out slowly and clearly. Aiden! Aiden! We didn't hesitate. We dove into the only hiding spot we could find. A tiny utility closet in the corner, crammed in next to the water heater. Seconds later, we heard the basement door creak open. Light from the hallway spilled down the stairs, cutting a path through the darkness. We could see through the slats of the closet door. A figure paused at the top of the stairs, then began to descend, one slow step at a time. He reached the bottom, his head swiveling as he scanned the room. He noticed the TV was still on, paused mid-scene, and stared at it for a moment before calling out again. Aiden! He started moving around the basement, looking behind boxes. He even opened one and started rummaging through it. I knew that box. It was filled with old family photo albums. The sight of this stranger, this intruder, touching our family memories was profoundly violating. After what felt like an eternity, he went back upstairs. We heard him wander the main floor for a few more minutes before the house fell silent. We stayed in that cramped, dark closet for what felt like an hour before I finally risked it, snuck out and called the police. But by then he was long gone. We never got a clear look at his face in the dark basement. The chilling part was obvious. He wasn't a random burglar. He knew Aiden's name. He knew Aiden would be at my house. He was there for him. The thought of what might have happened if we hadn't hidden It's something I still don't like to think about. So there you have it. 3 Halloweens that taught me that sometimes, the real monsters aren't the ones in masks. They're the ones hiding in the woods, lurking on your porch, or already inside your house. It's a good reminder to stay safe, stay aware, and maybe, just maybe, leave a light on. Thanks for watching. If you have your own spooky Halloween story, drop it in the comments below. I'd love to read it. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories. Until next time, stay safe out there.